to the SupaTea Podcast Show. So, can we have a very transparent, soulful Saturday? I'm going to get up and we're going to go through the book and all of that. But this soulful Saturday is going to be a little bit different because, as you can see, I'm not sitting at my workstation right now. It's a temporary workstation because my correct workstation is in a whole nother space. But for my workstation that's right now, I'm not there. I'm like really, because I ordered me some food and then I ordered me some CVS, and I was disappointed with both. I was disappointed with both. I was disappointed with both. The food, I could have made a way better selection. I could have went with what I know instead of scrolling through Grubhub and picking something that I could have got from across the freaking street. Probably would have been better. Or, better yet, it's the same quality as the stuff across there. I could have ordered from my Chinese people. It would have been 1,000% better. But I didn't. I ordered some chicken, what they call it, chicken spot food. I ordered some chicken spot food from the get from a whole nother ghetto of the ghetto that I reside in. And by the time it got to my side of town, it was cold. So I had to reheat the fries in my air fryer, which turned them extra crispy. No lie. After I ate those extra crispy fries, the fish was rubbery, so I only ate like a couple of bites of that. The chicken wings were very teeny tiny. Um, and I don't mind oversized chicken wings. I just want you to know I don't give a hoot and nanny about how they make them that size. It's more meat, and I enjoy it. I don't enjoy them all the time. I don't know if you know about BBQs, but I like those size wings. Okay, I ain't mad at those size wings at all. Like, and the shrimp was good. Then they have this picture of a strawberry cheesecake, and yeah, what I got was not what was in the picture. What I got looks like I don't know. It looks suspect. Doesn't look delicious. Doesn't look like it's horrible. It just doesn't look delicious. What I saw on the picture was like somebody who baked, who like physically baked. This stuff I got look like it's mass produced and just scooped into a little bowl. It don't look like any love was put into it at all. So that's what I ate. I didn't eat the strawberry cheesecake. I will show it to you how it looks actually, as I get up and go to the workstation. It's Saturday. What's this? What's up? I'm sticking all the way down there. I was munching, and I had a very long week. Like, I don't know what was happening. I was just like total surrender, and I'm still total surrender to God. So I don't know what God's doing. God's doing some stuff in my life, and on top of God doing stuff in my life, I'm over 40, so I'm at this wonderful stage of perimenopause, and I'm singing, and but I have such a clear vision of what to do with my music. I think I actually have a band. I think I have a band. I think I have a band. I think I have a band. So I won't, okay, I won't say that I officially have a band, but I know uh, excellent keyboardists. I know a phenomenal bass player, and I know a phenomenal drummer, and I know a phenomenal space that I can rent out and put on a show. And so I want to put on a show doing covers, covers that I'm pretty familiar with, so I could get funky with them. So I want to do some Anita Baker. I want to do some Denise Williams. I want to do some Stephanie Mills. Stephanie, I'm gonna have to, because Stephanie, I want to do some Stephanie. I want to do some Tamia. I want to do some Deborah Cox. Like, a mixture of 90s, 80s, 70s, 60s, like that, and like put on a full program. And um, start very, 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 what's the word I'm looking for? Start very humble, right? Start very humble and pay my musicians and like make that a thing, make it a thing, make it a thing till I have enough money to like do an album because it costs money to do an album. Yeah. Well, even if I don't do an album right away, but just do that, like do that during the summertime. Every summer, Nikita Black, and Nikita Black is not just one person, but it's a whole fucking band. Like it's what we do. We go, we try, we stay local, and we just do music, and then people hear about us, and they start booking us for bigger shit. We start doing bigger venues, but we start ourselves. Like just start ourselves. Just start. Like this is the year to do that. So I'm excited about that because that was very clear, and it was wonderful. It's wonderful, 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 wonderful. So, on top of that, though, I've been supporting my 26-year-old in his life. Of course, it's what parents do. We support our children even after they are adults, especially when they are putting forth good, positive efforts. But whoo, the healing process was very volatile. It was like bleh. There was a lot of stuff coming up. It was like almost, it's just think of somebody who's physically healing, and they're like throwing up, it's throw up is not good at all, doesn't smell good, doesn't look good, and it definitely doesn't feel good if somebody gets onto you. So that's what he was doing energetically, and he didn't just throw up on me; he threw up on quite a few people, and it's like, okay, all right, that stuff has to come out for you to heal. So, I get it. You got this. I'm just continuously encouraging him, and um, now that I have went through that, now it's like I kind of need a respite, so myself, So today just was me singing and me relaxing. Um, I got some of what I jokingly call my baby formula, only because I have not consistently since I was a baby, but when I first tasted this beverage, I was definitely a baby, a toddler, um, able enough, old enough to pick up a cup and help myself to it. I'm pretty sure it wasn't given to me. I'm pretty sure I was swiping it. I was swiping it. So I did some errands. Yesterday was a full day. You would think I had school yesterday because I was out and about moving around the whole entire day. Uh, I made a couple of, errands in one of my favorite towns. I should have went number one, first place, Walgreens. I should have went to Walgreens, but I didn't. I went somewhere else first. They didn't even have everything that I wanted, but I was able again to get that beverage, and so I am going to enjoy that beverage while we have Soulful Saturday together. And I read from chapter 5. It is a new chapter, so that's interesting. And come on, let's get to it. I've had enough crispy, crunchy fries. I don't want no more. This is one of my I like to call my guilty pleasures. Oh, and it's a full moon that's approaching. Oh, did I mention that I'm over 40 and also perimenopause is kicking my butt lovely? It's doing a wonderful job on me. Wonderful job. Last Friday I was outside with no coat on. I had my coat in my hand. And then I had people ask me silly questions like, "You're not cold." Sir, if I was cold, the coat would be on my body and not in my arms if I was cold. That's where it would be at. And I'm about due for a nap. I'll do for a nap, but I know when I take a nap now, I want to sleep the whole night. I want to get up, go to the bathroom, and bring my behind back to sleep. And then hopefully when I wake up in the morning, my stuff will be regulated. Because I don't know what my hormones be doing. My hormones be like, my hormones be doing a daggone Layla Ali on me, like Muhammad Ali. What's going on? What's this hormones? What do I need? Some estrogen? I don't know. Know what I'm supposed to need? Hey, give me some balance. Some balance. Rounds. Feels rounds. Oh. Ooh. So I'm going to be doing a lot of grinding. No, the lighting is a little strange. Didn't expect to give you wonderful audience spotlight to my nostrils, but as you can see, I ain't got no buggers. I ain't got no buggers. I ain't got no buggers. I want to just sang on. I don't even understand why. At all. At all, I don't want to stop. I just want to go sing. Okay, what the heck is going on here? Here we go. Microphone. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Most of the time when I start, I have all of this stuff set up already. But again, today we're doing a little bit early. I am still here. I am just simply grabbing a cup. Technically, it's a cup and a half there, which is sort of an ancestral one. Let's go for it. Back to that cheesecake. I wish I could show you a picture of how it looked, but this is what I got. Like I said, it looked like it was mass produced, like something just scooped glops into this container. Like, does that look like a cheesecake to you? I mean, it's the color of cheesecake. Cheesecake is typically made like in a little pan, and you cut a slice of it or whatever. Let's get into Soulful Saturday. Again, we're going about it in a kind of unique way today. The ways are not going to always be the same. Okay? There's a cup. I got me a big cup. And I have one. Oh yeah, every Soulful Saturday is gonna be itself. And this is just how I am feeling this particular Soulful Saturday. I'm staying committed to the process, of weekly episodes. Remember, I have yet to be in the position to hire a production team. So, with that being said, I'm not just the host, I'm the producer. All of the above. And with that being said, if I'm tired, the show is going to be a little different. It's going to just go according to how I'm feeling. And again, I want to get it done because when I go to sleep, I just want to wake up. And go. We're going to do a transfer right here. That's better. This is one thing that they did get correct. They got me my ginger ale. Now let's get my seating together. Going to affirm and give gratitude for the fact that divinity is utilizing me and the fact that I am a vessel for the divine and that my words are coming straight from my soul and in a way that is inspirational and transparent, excuse me, and true to my nature and form, and hopefully, again, like I said, inspirational. So, Seed of the Soul, this is the book we are still reading here at the SupaTeaPodcastShow every Saturday, and we are in a brand new section of the book. And this brand new section of the book is called Creation. Now, last week's episode, I don't know if you caught it, but last week's episode was very interesting. Very interesting. It went into how colorism and also, these are the nuggets I got from there. Of course, the subject itself was different, but in this actual book itself, it was notating that white was synonymous with light and right and good, and that black was synonymous with black and dark and bad. And I was like, oh my gosh, if that is something that was being discussed in a book that is supposed to enlighten people, if that was something that was maintained, I would say that it was something that was taught, maintained, because of course it wasn't, the origin didn't start here, but this book accepted those norms at that time, and those are not norms that we accept at this time. However, what we take is the timeless wisdom in this book, and the things that have expired, they have expired. And I'm not going to talk no more about that. I even tried to do an example here on this piece of paper, but I didn't have enough colors to put together, so it didn't quite work out. And the colors were, they were different type of sources. So like one source was like an oil base, one was an ink base. It was interesting. You gotta catch last week's episode. I went on for almost 3 hours. But cheers to the ancestors. Thanks to the ancestors. I am the hope of my ancestors, and I am that I am. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into chapter 5. Creation is the section. This book is broken into sections. So the first 4 chapters were. Let's go to the first 4 chapters. This is what we have read already here at the Super Tea Podcast Show. The first four chapters are part of, you can just see here. First four chapters were were introduction. Now we're going into evolution, creation rather. Then after creation, responsibility. After responsibility, power. So, creation is where we are now. This is the second part of the book, and that is the fifth, first part in the fifth chapter. First part of this section, fifth chapter of the entire book. Let me moisten my palette. How delightful. Let's jump right in. The central perception of the multisensory human is that he or she is not alone. The multisensory human does not need to rely solely upon his or her own perceptions and interpretations of events for guidance, because he or she is in conscious communication with other more advanced intelligences. This does not mean that the multisensory human is relieved thereby from choosing, in each instant, the course of his or her life. But it does mean that the multisensory human has conscious access to compassionate and impersonal help in the analysis of his or her possible choices, their probable consequences, and in the exploration of the different parts of himself or herself. The five sensory human is not alone either. But, excuse me while I enjoy this ice. But the five sensory human is not aware of the assistance that is continually being given to him or her. Therefore, cannot draw upon that assistance consciously. The five sensory human must learn primarily through his or her physical experiences. This learning takes longer because lessons that are learned in this way must come through the density of physical matter. A person that needs to learn the lesson of trust, for example, will experience a distrust of others. This distrust will create misunderstandings. Ooh. I'm not as trusting. People sometimes misinterpret my pleasantness as trusting, and it's not the same. Me being pleasant and happy is not the same as me trusting you. Me being joyful and laughing does not mean I trust you. Mm-mm. So I feel like this is right on time, as everything always is. This distrust will create misunderstandings, and these will lead to tensions and unpleasant experiences. A five sensory human will continue to experience the unpleasantness that results from his or her distrust of others until, in his lifetime or another, he or she realizes through interactions with others the source of this unpleasantness and takes steps to change this. If a person is not able to trust, for example, he or she will interpret erroneously the words and actions of others. Me. This has certainly happened with me. However, I'm multisensory, so even though I didn't have to go through such density, but I realized what it was because I had an incident, and I misinterpreted somebody's intentions based on the way that they communicated with me. And it almost snowballed into a negative thing. However, I did self-regulate. I did take accountability for my actions in my part within the interaction, and I did apologize. And as a result, the other individuals whose intentions. I misinterpreted. They opened up a space for me to come into, and um, it's a very sacred space. It's a space that I have yet to experience um, in this current incarnation, and I know already that this is a space that they are offering to me, and every time I think about it, it makes me a little sensitive. You know, it makes me emotional because it seems like it took a long time for somebody to offer that type of space, and I feel like everybody should experience that type of experience and have that type of space in order to just experience, you know. And it is the space of father's love. We talk a lot about mother's love, and mother's love is very powerful and important. However, father's love is very powerful and important as well in its own aspect, in its own ways. And I feel every person, um, especially every child, should experience that because it sets the foundation of future experiences when it comes to love. So, with that being said, I'm going to go back into the book. Um, okay. A person that needs to learn the lessons of trust, for example, will experience a distrust of others. This distrust will create misunderstandings, and these will lead to tensions and unpleasant experiences. A five sensory human will continue to experience the unpleasantness that results from his or her excuse me, distrust of others until in this lifetime or another, he or she realizes through interactions with others the source of this unpleasantness and takes steps to change it. If a person is not able to trust, for example, he or she will interpret erroneously the words and actions of others. If a wife tells her husband that she must attend the business meeting, although she would like to be with him, and if her husband is unable to trust, he may take her meeting as a rejection or as a signal that her work is more important to her than he is. This misunderstanding results from his inability to accept what his wife has told him, from his inability to trust her. As the wife continually experiences her husband's misunderstandings, they generate within her feelings of surprise, sorrow, frustration, anger, resentment, and eventually the rejection that her husband mistakenly perceived. Thus, the husband, through the dynamic of distrust, creates his most significant fear. The loss of a mate or a friend or a colleague through distrust is not a punishment for distrustfulness. It is the result of refusing to look consciously within oneself at the issue of trust. It is an experience that results from choosing repeatedly to distrust instead of to trust. A distrustful person will create unpleasant or painful situations until at last they bring him or her to the issue of trust. This may take 5 painful experiences or 5 lifetimes of painful experiences or 50, but eventually this path will lead to and through the great lesson of trust. The same dynamic applies to every personality characteristic that is not an expression of compassion and harmony. An angry personality, for example, will create unpleasant or even tragic situations until its anger is faced and removed as a block to its compassion and love. To the energy of its soul. The same is true for greedy personalities, selfish personalities, manipulating personalities, and so forth. This is the way that we have evolved until now. I remember now, and this book was then. Because this book was written in 1989, and we are now in 2025. Let's continue, however. Some of this wisdom is timeless, and some of it has expired. I feel you will intuitively know which is which. I'm just here as a messenger and as a vessel, and I will share my perspective on which is which. However, I'm sure you have your very own, and that is all good and fine and dandy. Let's continue. A multisensory human can learn more rapidly than a five sensory human. Well, that explains a lot. With the help that is available to it, the multisensory personality can understand more quickly the meaning of its experiences. Yeah, because that experience I had that I shared briefly about distrust and about the misunderstanding that I experienced, that happened like 2 weeks ago. hmm And it has already been resolved. And as I shared at the beginning of this episode, because I have decided to surrender completely to the divinity that operates the cosmos and keeps our very planet Earth afloat and not crashing into other planets, because I have chosen to surrender to that powerful force, that omnipotent force. Some people call God, some people call Allah, some they have there's so many different names for this particular force. Um, I had a very interesting week. It's long, it was challenging, but it was good nonetheless, and inspirational. And that is how I even could see again, because it wasn't the first time, but see again how my band is forming. All right, let's continue. Um, and start back at the top of this paragraph. A multisensory human can learn more rapidly than a five-sensory human with the help that is available to it. The multisensory personality can understand more quickly the meaning of its experiences, how they come into being, what they represent, and its role in creating them. It does not need to experience 12 or 20 or 200 painful experiences to learn a major lesson of trust, or responsibility, or humbleness. This does not necessarily mean that multisensory personalities do not experience painful situations, but that they have the capability of learning more quickly from them than five sensory personalities, and therefore are more quickly able to choose more wisely and with more compassion. It is not necessary to be capable of a voice to voice communication, so to speak, to be able to draw upon the sources of guidance and assistance that surrounds you. This way is available to the advanced multisensory human, but the road to that ability is a joyful one of developing an awareness that wise and compassionate guidance is always available to you, and learning to incorporate it consciously into your life. So, how does this happen? The five sensory personality accepts every impulse and insight as his or her own, as originating within his or her psyche. The multisensory personality knows that this is not always the case. Impulses, hunches, sudden insights, and subtle insights have assisted us on our own evolutionary path since the origin of our species. That we have not recognized the guidance that has come to us in this way is a consequence of seeing reality through only five senses. Excuse me. From the five sensory point of view, there is no other place from which insights and hunches can come. From the multisensory point of view, insights, intuitions, hunches, and inspirations are messages from the soul or from advanced intelligences that assist the soul on its evolutionary journey. The multisensory personality, therefore, honors intuition in a way that the five sensory personality does not. To the five sensory personality, intuitions are curiosities. To the multisensory personality, they are promptings from and links to a perspective of greater comprehension and compassion than its own. To the five sensory personality, intuitive insights or hunches occur unpredictably and cannot be counted upon. To the multisensory personality, intuitive insights are registrations within its consciousness of a loving guidance that is continually assisting and supporting its growth. Therefore, the multisensory personality strives to increase its awareness of this guidance. Yes, yes, yes. The first step to this is becoming aware of what you are feeling Following your feelings will lead you to their source. Only through emotions can you encounter the force field of your own soul. This is the human passage in a word. The husband who is not able to trust, for example, may have felt anger or shame or resentment or coldness towards his wife when she told him of her business appointment. If he had been able to experience his feelings consciously, to detach from them, to observe them as an energy currents running through his system, he would have been able to ask himself, why does the news of this business meeting affect me in this way? This would have allowed him to discover that his feelings were reflecting a sense of rejection or of being less important to his wife than her meeting. If he then has reviewed his wife's message, he would have seen that she told him that she would have preferred to be with him, but could not. This would have allowed him to ask, then why do I still feel so disturbed? And this would have led him to the answer, because I do not trust that she actually would prefer to be with me. And this way, becoming aware of his feelings rather than unconsciously acting them out would have led him to his issue of trust. Having unearthed so much, he then could have asked himself, does my experience with my wife support this suspicion that she is not being honest with me? If the answer to this question has been no, my experience is that she is a person of integrity, the husband could have come to see that the dynamic emotion within him did not relate to his wife. Although her words triggered it, it would have allowed him to see the actual intentions of his wife, and his feelings towards her would have softened. Her response to him would have been one of the closeness towards a loving husband instead of hurt caused by the rejection of her intimacy by a hostile husband. Had he followed this course, he would not have had to ruin his afternoon or his marriage. He would have been able to learn from his emotions and his questions about them, the same lesson that he eventually would learn through the unpleasant experiences that resulted from his lack of trust. He would have been able to see within the framework of one instance the effect of distrust and the effects of trust. Each question that a person asks, such as, why does news of this business meeting affect me in this way? Why do I feel so disturbed? And does my experience support my suspicion? Invokes guidance. Every time you ask for guidance, you receive it. Every time you ask yourself, what is my motivation? You ask the universe, help me to see. And help comes. Ask, you shall receive. You may not always be capable of hearing the answers to your questions when you ask them, and the answers may not always come in the ways that you expect, but they always come. Sometimes an answer occurs in the form of a feeling, a yes feeling or a no feeling. Sometimes in the form of a memory or a thought that at the time seems random. Sometimes in a dream, sometimes in the form of a realization that is prompted by an experience that will occur the next day. No question is unheard, and no question goes unanswered. Asking you shall receive is the rule, but you must learn how to ask and how to receive. I have to stop right there because, again, I love these, what maybe some would consider tiny epiphanies, but to me, they're confirmations of the guidance and the support that is always available. I asked a lot of questions today, and I got some answers. And I'm satisfied with those answers. Not only did I get those answers, I got surprises too. I got surprises within my questions, and I'm not going to share those questions because they were intimate questions and personal questions. I just was asking of sorts like, I'm seeing this and I noticed this and I noticed that, and it's happening, and um, basically, my answer to my questions is just be patient, and I'm laughing because I don't know if I've shared, but I'm recovering from some injuries in my legs, and so looking at me, you can't tell, but I have shared what it looks like on the inside. I have metal in my body already, and that metal needs to be replaced more than likely this year with more better uh, material, and so with all of that, when I'm mobilizing, when I'm moving, you will hear me grunting, and when people hear the grunts, it's like, oh, then they recognize, oh, even though it's, brick house stallion, some of these bricks need to be, repaired, so they always say the same words to me, and it's take your time, 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 and I always have the same response, like I have no choice, and but it applies not only to me getting in and out of an Uber or in and out of a lift or walking up some stairs. It applies to everything. It's just knowing that everything happens in its own due time. So there's no need for me to be anxious about anything, And when I do propose a question, answer is available to me. And I just have to be open enough and receptive to recognize what the answer is. And also be full of gratitude that the answer has come to me with this clarity. So I always find it interesting that as I'm reading this book, and just in general in life, how I'm able to, before I even get to the point, know what the point is and share it. And then as I continue to read and as I continue to go forward, then the point arises almost precisely. Like, ask and you shall receive is the rule. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's right here. But I said it when I was on this page right here. I said it before I even got to that page, So it's interesting. But I'm going to continue to read. The intellect is meant to expand perceptions, to help you grow in perceptual strength and complexity, and not to do harm. The experience of the intellect are experiences of knowledge. Knowledge is power, and for each rather, level of knowledge, you are held responsible for how you use it. Knowledge that simply comes into your being and does not in some way or form become processed and used to the benefit of others can be seriously detrimental effect upon your body. Karmic obligations that are created by deliberate misuse of knowledge, by knowingly harming or creating discord in another, are greater than those that are created in ignorance. In a world that understands power as external, the intellect often functions without the compassionate influence of the heart. This creates situations in which intellectual power is used as a weapon to harm others, to exert will power without tenderness. When the intellect is used to design or develop or produce weapons, for example, it is not being used as it was intended. When an industry or a plant is designed or built or operated without consideration for its effects upon the earth, upon humankind, and upon the environment, the intellect is not being used as it was intended. When you plan to profit at another's expense, you are not using your intellect as it was intended. Here's some of that timeless wisdom right here. In a world with five sensory humans that understand power as external, intuitive knowledge is not regarded as knowledge, and therefore it is not processed. It is not submitted to the intellect. It is not expanded or studied or made technical and disciplined. Just as we were taught to develop and employ cognition to think things through, so too can we learn to develop and employ intuition, to ask for guidance and receive it. Just as there are technologies to discipline the mind, such as analytical thinking, studying, repetition, and respect for the mechanism, so too are there techniques to engage and discipline the intuition. The first of these is to honor emotional cleansing at all times. If you are emotionally blocked and you cannot or you do not know what you feel, or if you have blocked what you feel so effectively that you become emotionless, you become a negative person. And you also create a physical diseased body. By keeping your emotions clear, emotional negativity does not reside inside of you, and you become lighter and lighter. This opens your intuitive track because it allows you a clear sense of loving. It brings you closer to unconditional love and renders you harmless. It lightens the quality of your frequency, so to speak, and therefore the guidance that you receive is clear and unobstructed as it enters your system. This requires that you clear yourself each day of your emotional impacts. Oh my God, each day. Today was one of those days for me, but I can't say that I've been doing that each day. Mental note for me. Have you? Mm-hmm. Just as you dispose of your physical body waste and toxins, so too dispose of your emotional waste and toxins by finishing emotionally unfinished business, by not going to bed in anger, by seeing that you do not feel contaminated emotionally. Oh, I definitely felt contaminated emotionally yesterday, even though it was a peace over me, because I just trusted. I didn't fight, you know. Often in my interaction with a loved one of mine, before I would even respond, and this was often, you know. Now there were a few instances where I just automatically responded, but more often did I pause before I responded and ask for the right words and the right way to express what was coming through me, this intelligence, this guidance, you know, because I recognized that I sort of was the filter for this. I am, in a way, a filter for this loved one. However, as in this book, we always have a choice, you know. So even though I have chose to surrender to divinity, you know, the most powerful force that there is, I still have a choice in how I interact with others. So what I did was, after the many, many interactions that I shared with this loved one, and this week, I said, listen, divinity, you got plenty of vessels out there, okay? You got plenty of vessels. I am not the only vessel available. So utilize another vessel for this loved one of mine, you know, that can filter in what you're saying, because they have blockages that are undoing and that are dissolving as they are going through a rapid healing process. So thank you, thank you, thank you. However, find somebody else should do it. Somebody else should do it. Let it be done, but I do not have to be the only one, okay? And I've seen that. I've seen that, and I also experienced that, even in the midst of me doing the parts that I was open and available to. But at this point, it's like, okay, I'm gonna pour from my overflow. That's all I want to pour from. Even though I know that my source is infinite, I want to pour from a full space and not from a space that has been depleted. Even though I know it's going to replenish. So what? It's going to replenish. I don't want it to be empty. I don't want to feel that feeling. I want to feel the feeling of fullness of the divine working through and as me, so that when I am pouring onto others, it is coming from an overflow. It is not coming from the portion that keeps me at what I consider to be my best and continuously evolving. Because my best right now is not going to be my best tomorrow. My best tomorrow is not going to be the best for me the next day. And my best now is not the same best that I was yesterday. So each day, it is my goal to become a better version of myself, you know. And that might not be visible or even noticeable to others, but it might not even be visible or noticeable to myself. But I know that within larger periods of time, I can self-reflect and see, oh wow, I've grown, because I had also that experience. Even though I felt emotionally contaminated, because I felt like my loved one regurgitated, basically threw up on me energetically several times. Um, and also because I intuitively and instinctively, because of the dynamics of the relationship between me and my loved one, responded as if they were still smaller than what they are, based on their behaviors and based on my 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 awareness of the surrounding energies, and they were just kind of like oblivious and, you know, kind of acting like a child acts, you know, just oblivious, just in their own little world. And I didn't want to pull them out of that, you know, realm, but I wanted them to be aware that, hey, you can be in your own realm, but you should still also be aware, especially when you are out in public, of your surroundings, you know, and not just extreme ones where somebody's yelling, and of course somebody's yelling and screaming over yonder. You're gonna look because they're loud. But what happens when there is no yelling or screaming, but energetically there's a lot of stuff that's happening? Are you that in tune with yourself to be aware of the energy fluctuations and what's around you while you're out in public amongst literally many other energies, you know? Um, so yeah, it's been a week. But here I am, Soulful Saturday, just like I have dedicated myself to be. So, with that being said, let's jump back into the book. All right. The second is a cleansing nutritional program. Being physically toxic interferes with intuition. The third is to honor the guidance that you receive. Emotional and physical cleansing leads to intuition, and this leads to learning to respond. You must be willing to hear what your intuition says and act accordingly. Many people do not wish to hear what can be heard so easily, and therefore they deny that they hear anything. They talking to me, then they talking about me a lot in this book today. They know a lot about me today, because I promise you, and I absolutely, positively know that if I would have followed an intuitive impulse last Friday, that this past week would have been completely different. But it was good. It was still good. It was still good. It was still good. But it just would have been a different good, you know? But I digress and get back into the book. Um, the fourth is to allow yourself an orientation of openness towards your life in the universe, to approach the questions in your life with a sense of faith and trust that there is a reason for all that is happening, and that reason at its heart is always compassionate and good. This is an essential thought that needs to be in place in order to activate and cultivate intuition. Oh, excuse me. Blame it on the ginger ale. I look to the side because that's where it's at. See those bubbles in my tummy too. All right. What is intuition and how does it work? Intuition is perception beyond the physical senses that is meant to assist you. It is that sensory system which operates without data from the five senses. Your intuitional system is a part of your incarnation. It's natural. When you leave your body, you will leave behind the intuitional system that was developed for you, as you will leave behind your personality because it will no longer be necessary. Intuition serves many purposes. Intuition serves survival. It prompts you to pursue that which has no apparent reason in order to survive. Hunches about danger, for example, about what's risky and what's not, about which street is safe to walk and which is not, or about checking the car under the hood, helps you to remain in the physical world. Ooh, I need some more ice. I need some more ice or something nice. Intuition serves creativity. It tells you what book to buy for your project or also what book to write. It tells you where to meet the colleague that you need to meet and which ideas from which field will complement which ideas from another. It is the hunch that a certain painting should be done in gray and that another should be done in purple. It is the sense that an idea that has never been tried before may work. Intuition serves inspiration. It is the sudden answer to a question. It is the meaning that takes form in the fog of confusion. It is the light that comes to the darkness. It is the presence of the divine. Intuition can be thought of as a type of wiring that can be used by various sources. One of these sources is the soul. Intuition is a walkie talkie, so to speak, between the personality and the soul. This happens through the higher self. The higher self is the connecting link when the soul speaks to its personality. It is the dialogue between the personality and its immortal self. The personality soul communication is the higher self experience, but the personality does not communicate with the fullness of its soul. All of the energy of the soul does not incarnate. To incarnate, the soul creates a personality from these parts of itself that it wants to heal in the physical environment. And from those parts of itself that it lends to the process of healing in this lifetime. So powerful is the energy of the soul that it could not advance into physical form without literally exploding that form. In the creation of a personality, the soul calibrates parts of itself, reduces parts of itself to take on the human experience. Your higher self is that aspect of your soul that is in you, but is not the fullness of your soul. It is a smaller soul self. Therefore, higher self is another term for soul. Yet the soul is more than the higher self. Picture a cup, a gallon, and a water tank. The water tank is the soul. An aspect of the soul becomes a gallon. That gallon is still soul, but it's not the fullness of the soul. It is that part of the soul that is on mission, so to speak. The personality is the cup. The cup contracts the gallon, the higher self soul, but not the full body water tank. Communication between the personality and its soul is an in house intuitive process. It is a process that is organic to your own internal system. For example, decision making, which is your process, can be an intuitive process in which you pull data from your mind, your heart, and your intuition, relying upon the guidance of your higher self. Each of these sources is part of your own system of energy. Your personality and your higher self are of your soul. Intuition also can permit the personality through its higher self to receive information from other souls of higher process, souls that are not its own soul. Sources of guidance other than your own higher self can come across on the same radio station, so to speak. This is not the same as an intuitive process. This is a process of receiving guidance through intuitive channels. Receiving information through intuitive channels is significantly different than receiving information through intuitive processes. Receiving information through intuitive processes is cooking at home. Receiving information through intuitive channels is ordering out. The guidance that the multisensory human receives through intuitive processes and through intuitive channels is as essential for his or her well being and growth as sunshine and clean air. Through his or her intuition, the multisensory human comes to understand and to experience truth consciously. We're going to take a little break right there because I don't want my soda to get flat before I flavor it and add ice to it. I'm going to take another sip to get some bubbles. You might hear some gas come up, some burps. That gas is good. That gas is good. Burps is good, baby. Schweppes is good for you. Ginger ales is good for you. Ooh. Ooh. Let's get back to the book. Celebrations across the nations, other Polly are getting better, evolving into a better self. Okay, I'm stop singing right now. I sing it all friggin' day. What is truth? Truth is that which does not contaminate you, but empowers you. Therefore, there are degrees of truth. But generically, a truth is something that does no harm. It cannot harm. Higher self connecting to non physical teachers produces a level of truth that is true not just for you, but that would be true for anyone who came in contact with it. If you subtracted everything that is personal to you from the guidance that you receive through intuitive channels, there would remain a kernel of truth that would apply to others, or at least the presence of unconditional love. Whereas much of the information you receive through your own intuitive process will be effective only for you. This is the difference between personal truth and impersonal truth. They are both truth, but personal truth is yours, and impersonal truth belongs to all. That is, to each person. We need truth to grow in the same way that we need vitamins, affection, and love. Okay, you heard what they said. They said we need affection to grow. That's what they said. That's what it said right there. It say we need affection to grow. Okay, we need affection. I'm gonna play it again. Affection, affection. Okay, I said I was gonna. I was saying it. At times, the truth that comes through intuitive processes or through intuitive channels can be contaminated with your own fear. What's more, are they talking to me? Here is a place to apply your intellect. In other words, you might think that you are receiving a clear intuition, but if you examine it rationally, if you take it apart, you'll be able to see that you are responding to an insecurity. Just as the question, does my experience with my wife support my suspicion, would have allowed the husband to see that the origin of his emotional response was an insecurity rather than the energy dynamic with his wife. Answers that come through your intuitive process or through intuitive channels may challenge what you would prefer to do. Your lower self, your personality, will not challenge, but rationalize. It is natural to ascend to a level where you can learn to distinguish between the sources of guidance that you receive. The idea of being guided by truth that is received intuitively appears unusual to the five sensory personality. The psychology that has been constructed upon the experiences of the five sensory personality does not even recognize intuition in the sense that it recognizes and studies and seeks to understand physical perception, affect, and cognition. To the multisensory personality, it is unusual not to rely upon truths that it receives from its higher self, and through its higher self from souls that are more advanced. The personality is never separate from its soul, and the soul and its personalities are continually assisted and guided with impersonal compassion and wisdom. This is so for both the five sensory personality and for the multisensory personality. But the five sensory personality is not aware of its soul or the guidance that it receives from its higher self and from more advanced souls. The multisensory personality is aware of its soul. It seeks to align itself with its soul, to become the physical embodiment of its higher self, and it consciously invokes and receives the loving assistance of its own soul and of other souls that assist it. How true, how true. That is the end of chapter 5, everyone. I'm going to place this bookmark. We will continue reading chapter 6, which is light, next week, next Soulful Saturday. I want to know your thoughts. I want to know your thoughts. I want to know your ideas. I want to know how you have felt during this particular episode and with the information that was shared with you all. Excuse me. Good old burps. I'm going to stop this episode right now. And again, you're welcome to comment. You are welcome to share. Please do check out the links that are in the description so that you can get you some Matcha Madness gear. Like, come on, get you some matcha gear. Get you some gear to support the matcha. Because you know, here at the Super Tea Podcast Show, we are not doing hot topics, okay? We are doing matcha. That's what we do here. That's the type of tea. There's so many teas, you know. And people, when they hear the word tea, they just think one thing. Oh, it's a hot topic. Oh, they're going to be talking about what's going on in the news and what's going on here. No. This tea is specific. I'm not really concerned with what's going on other places. I'm really more concerned with what's going on within me. And I want you to be concerned with what's going on within you. I want you to be able to consciously be in tune with your soul and to allow that relationship to blossom, the relationship between your personality and your soul, and to be so secure that you're open to the guidance that is always available to you for you to achieve what you intend to, and for you to utilize your internal power responsibly, and to recognize that you have internal power, and to cultivate it, and to cherish it, and not just pour your power out onto others ignorantly and feel powerless. Remember, here we live, we operate, we think fearlessly. And you at your best means that you're better than you was yesterday. And it's a continuous process. And that is how our world becomes at its best. It starts with individuals. And the individuals share their knowledge, share their love, share their compassion with other individuals, to inspire that same type of growth and healing within them so that they can be their best and they can continually become better and better within themselves. And as each individual becomes better and better within themselves, guess what happens? We create a better world together. That's how it's going to happen. We are the ones that's doing it. So, right now, there's a lot of stuff going on. Don't bombard yourself with that stuff unless you are personally in a position to positively make a difference in those arenas. Don't pay them no mind. The best thing you could do is make a positive impact in your own arena. And as you do that, it does send a ripple effect to those other arenas. So if you really, really want things to be better elsewhere, really, really be committed and devoted to making things better within you. Thank you for tuning into the Super Tea Podcast Show. I look forward to these Soulful Saturdays. They're such a pleasure and an honor for me to facilitate here on the Super Tea Podcast Show. Stay tuned. Lots of great things are happening. And I'm grateful to be able to share it with you. Grateful for you to, and make sure you click those links in the description to get you some merch. I'm going to get me some merch too. Matter of fact, I think I might go and order me some merch right now, so I can have some more next time. Take care, y'all.